Hare Krishna, welcome all devotees. This is a Zoom Seshadripuram temple, Jagannath temple, Srimad Bhagavatam class, Thursday. Today is Thursday, 20th April. And I have been instructed to speak on third canto, 16th chapter, third and fourth sloka. So we will be discussing on those two sloka today up to 9 o'clock. So we'll continue the discussion. While all other devotees join, I'll slowly get started. Hare Krishna. So I'll just set on pranam. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilita Mena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Padati Sapadantinam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yutabada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sarvam Raghunatam Tam Tasya Jevam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahavana Lalitam Shri Vishakalatam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataru Vaishya Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurabhaktanda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I'll project the shloka on the screen and then we'll recite. Just give me 2 seconds. Yeah. Hare Krishna. So third canto, 16th chapter, third shloka. Third shloka. Yatvas etaya raduto dando bhavad virmama anuratihi sa evanu matos asmabhir munayo deva helana. Word to word translation. Ya, which, to, but. Etayo, regarding both Jaya and Vijaya. Dhruta has been given. Danda, punishment. Bhavatbhi, by you. Mam, me. Anuvratihi, devoted to. Sa, that. Eva, certainly. Anuvataha is approved. Asmabhi, by me. Munaya, O great sages. Deva, against you. Yelanat, because of an offense. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O great sages, I approve the punishment that you devoted to me have, that who are devoted to me have meted out to them. Yes. So we'll go to next shloka also and then we'll start the discussion. Next shloka, fourth shloka. Tatva prasadamai adya brahma daivam param hime taditi atmakutam manne yatsva pumbir asat krutaha. Word to word translation again. Tat, therefore, va, you sages, prasadamai, I am seeking your forgiveness. Adya, just now, Brahma, the Brahmanas, Daivam, most beloved personalities, Param, highest, he, because, me, my, Tat, that open, he, because, iti, thus, Atma Pratam, done by me, Manne, I consider, yat, which, so Pumbihi, by my own attendants, Asat Krutaha, having been disrespected. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. To me, the Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. Purport. The Lord is always in favor of Brahmanas and the commons, and therefore it is said, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Lord Krishna or Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is also worshipable deity of Brahmanas. In the Vedic literature, in the Rug Mantra hymns of the Rug Veda, it is stated that those who are actually Brahmanas always look at the lotus feet of Vishnu. Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Surayaha. Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Surayaha. Those who are qualified Brahmanas worship only the Vishnu form of Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means Krishna, Rama, and all Vishnu expressions. A so-called Brahmana who is born in the family of Brahmanas but performs activities aimed against the Vaishnavas cannot be accepted as Brahmana, because Brahmana means Vaishnava and Vaishnava means Brahmana. One who has become devotee of Lord is also Brahmana. The formula is Brahma Janati Brahmana. A Brahmana is one who has understood Brahman, and Vaishnava is one who understood the personality of God. Brahman realization is the beginning of realization of personality of Godhead. One who understands the personality of Godhead also knows the impersonal feature of Supreme, which is Brahman. Therefore, one who becomes a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. It should be noted that glories of Brahmana described in this chapter by the Lord himself refer to his devotee Brahmana or Vaishnava. It should never be misunderstood that the so-called Brahmanas who are born in the Brahmana families but have no Brahminical qualifications are referred to this in this connection. Hare Krishna. Jai Sri Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll start discussing the further shlokas.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu, yesterday's class had not taken place. So that is 3:16, 1 and 2 has not been read at all. In yesterday's class,
Yeah, Prabhu.
it was 3:16 of 1 and 2.
Yeah.
The class did not take place.
Oh, is
so
it?
Probably,
Achha.
yes. So
I
we
was not
used it.
aware of that, but no worries, Prabhuji. We will cover that because it's just starting of that particular chapter and context.
Exactly.
I will tell you the context. No worries.
No, we can just read through that. Probably we could understand what the earlier was.
Sure. I will read it. No problem. Yes. I'll just read it. First, I will complete reading that also. Then
Yes,
we
Prabhu.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Exactly. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Thanks.
Just I'm going to those shlokas. Just hold on, and then I'll be okay. I'm just projecting it here. No problem. Brahmovacha. This is the first shloka. Brahmovacha iti tadvritam tesha muninam yoga dharmenam pratidandya jagadedam vikunta nilayo vibhuhu. I will read the translation now directly, probably in the interest of time. Lord Brahma said, after thus congratulating the sages for their nice words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose abode is in the kingdom of God, spoke as follows. Okay, so next shloka. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Etoto Parshado Mahyam Jayo Vijayo Evacha Kadarthi Kritam Yam Yadvo Brahma Katamati Kramam. Translation. The personality of Godhead said, these attendants of mine, Jaya and Vijay, by name, have committed a great offense against you because of ignoring me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. To commit an offense at the feet of the devotee of the Lord is a great wrong. Even when living entity is promoted to Vaikuntha, there is still the chance that he may commit offenses. But the difference is that when one is in Vaikuntha planet, even if by chance one commits an offense, he is protected by Lord. This is remarkable fact in the dealings of Lord and the servitor, as seen in the present incident concerning Jaya and Vijaya. The word atikramam used herein indicates that in offending a devotee, one neglects the Supreme Lord himself. By mistake, the doorman held the sages from entering Vaikuntha Loka, but because they were engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, their annihilation was not expected by advanced devotee. The Lord's presence on the spot was very pleasing to the hearts of devotees. The Lord understood that the trouble was due to lotus feet not being seen by the sages, and therefore he wanted to please them by personally going there. The Lord is so merciful that even if there is some impediment for the devotee, he himself manages matters in such a way that the devotee is not bereft of having audience at his lotus feet. There is a very good example in the life of Haridas Thakur. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was residing at Jagannath Puri, Haridas Thakur, who happened to be Mohammedan by birth, was with him. In Hindu temples, especially in those days, no one but Hindu was allowed to enter. Although Haridas Thakur was greatest of all Hindus in his behavior, he considered himself a Mohammedan and did not enter the temple. Lord Chaitanya could understand his humility, and since he did not go to see the temple, Lord Chaitanya himself, who is not different from Jagannath, used to come and sit with Haridas Thakur daily. Here in Srimad Bhagavatam, we also find this same behavior of the Lord. His devotees were prevented from seeing his lotus feet, but the Lord himself came to see them on the same lotus feet for which they aspired. It is also significant that he was accompanied by goddess of fortune. The goddess of fortune is not to be seen by ordinary person, but the Lord was so kind that although the devotee did not aspire for such a honor, he appeared before them with goddess of fortune. So this is a two slokas and third and shloka we read. Just I'll read again. I'll read the translation now. O great sages, I approve the punishment that you are devoted to me have meted out to them. And fourth sloka, I'll read the translation. To me, the Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me because the doormen are my servitors. I took this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. Hare Krishna. Okay, so Prabhuji, I read all four, and they are in it's describing one incident there, which is continuing from the last chapter, and this is now Lord Supreme Personality of God appears here, and Lord Krishna appears here, and he's further talking to four Kumaras, and of course Jaya Vijay also they are present there. So we'll just start discussing now. Just before that, I will start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimade Jayapataka Swami Niti Name Namo Acharya Padaya Nitaya Krupa Pradaya Nitaya Damadaya Nagaragrami Tari Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Name Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pachari Vishesha Shunyavani Pashatya Desha Tarini Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktaranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Shri Gopal Ki Jai. Okay, so we'll start the discussion. So so here context is basically it's continuing from earlier chapters. For Kumaras, I mean Lord Brahma is explaining to demigods. Just I am going 3-4 scenes on the background of this, just to recap the things. So Lord Brahma is explaining to demigods the description of the heavenly planets. When demigods inquire him about, and then the before that is basically it's a birth of Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu from the Diti and Kashyapa Muni, and there was bad omens when they are about to take birth, and there are a lot of darkness throughout the universe, and they get frightened and approach Brahma and ask about what is happening. And Brahma tells, okay, this is how it is. And in that context, he is talking about the incidents of 4 Kumaras going to Vaikuntha planets at the doorstep. 4 Kumaras are the devotees, obviously. And then they were sort of prevented going inside by doorkeepers of the Lord Vaikuntha planet's doorkeeper, that is Jaya and Vijay, and they thought it's their duty because without permission they cannot get in. And 4 Kumaras, they get offended, saying that who are you, like we are devotees and you cannot prevent us. So it's offense is what they thought, and that's the conversation now. That are the they curse Jay and Vijay that you will get into earthly planets, material world where Janmaruttu Jaravati is a characteristic. Means you will get into the non-permanent existence, miserable existence, which is a characteristic here. Down from the Vaikuntha, which is eternity. Satchidananda. So that is a curse they give, and then they beg pardon. And by that time, Lord Krishna sees that incident, and he comes out, and this is the first shloka start. Yes, so he is basically ratifying the punishment given by Kumaras on the behalf of and he is actually accepting on his fault, because his servants have done that offense, and Lord is so kind and merciful. That's what we saw in earlier purport that he is so kind and merciful that he is taking the ownership of mistake from his devotees, and that's a magnanimity of the Lord. Although he is completely independent, he doesn't have to do all that, but he is doing it for out of love to protect his devotee. That's what in the last purport we saw. If there is some mistake also by devotees, it's sort of Lord Krishna, Lord forgives that or takes care of that. So that's a magnanimity of the Lord. So here Lord Krishna is telling, he is addressing the four Kumaras of Brahmanas, advanced Brahmanas. Of course, we know they are Vaishnavas. So then Prabhupada is discussing on the Brahmanas, Vaishnavas as a sort of what is their mutual correlation, and are they mutually exclusive or inclusive, and some more details Prabhupada is explaining. That's the topic we will be little bit discussing today. So he's addressing four Kumaras Brahmanas because they were, of course, they were brahmacharis and they were all at that level. Of course, they are actually Vaishnavas, but basically they were qualification also. They are like Brahmanas. So here question comes. So Prabhupada explains in the fourth shloka. Just give me 2 minutes. I'm just pulling it up. Okay. So to me, the Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. The respect shown by attendants has actually been displayed by me because of government of my servant. I take this to be offensive by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness. Prabhupada writes in purport, the Lord is always in favor of Brahmanas and cows. Go Brahmani Hitaya. Hitaya cha. So basically, so we know Brahmana, like it's a Varnashrama system. We know Brahmana sits into the topmost order of Varnashrama system. Why? Because they are almost at a Sattva. Although little bit there may be contention lower gunas, but essentially they are at the Sattva. And they have what a position. There are various types of Brahmanas. They do Yajnik Brahmanas and others. So basically, Brahmanas are the people who are expert in chanting the mantras, and they know the Vedic science, and they actually guide the society. They are like the brain of the society. And obviously, since they are holding that position, it must be by qualification, because Varnashrama system is not based on the birth, not based on the birth or earlier traceability. It's all depends on your development of qualities. And we know, like there are many Vedic references. What are the qualities of Brahmana? Correct. So we know that. Like I'll just touch upon some of those, just to recall the some of those discussions. Just a minute. Samodamo tapo saucham shantir ajvam evamocha. Jnanam Vijnanam Astikyam Brahma Karma Sabhavajam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by Brahmana. So there are many qualities described. So these qualities, if you see, they are what they indicate. These qualities cannot be developed by the person who is not in the mode of goodness. So slowly these qualities need to be developed, and slowly we have to go to that level. Okay, so why those qualities are required? Because otherwise we cannot understand the scriptures. We cannot understand without having this quality. We cannot understand the scripture in a real sense, because mode of passion and ignorance will have contaminated consciousness. Even goodness also is having contaminated consciousness, but at least it is sufficient to understand the scriptures. And once you understand, follow it, then people can follow you, and you can impart that knowledge to the rest of the mass of the people. And that's the whole purpose of Varnashrama Dharma. So Brahmanas are supposed to guide the society. Okay, the other three classes, especially on the matters of spiritual cultivation, devotional life cultivation, because mass of the people need guidance. Okay, so that is Brahmana. So these qualities will help us in understanding scriptures more authoritatively, and by proving yourself by example, people will naturally follow you. So that's the whole purpose. Okay, so this is about Brahmana. Now Vaishnava, Prabhupada mentions here very categorically. Why he brings the point of, because it's a Brahmana which is mentioned, but Prabhupada brings very aptly about Vaishnavism. Why? Because Prabhupada writes very clear sentence here. Brahmana means Vaishnava and Vaishnava means Brahmana. So this is the thing which you need to understand properly in this purport. Brahmana means Vaishnava, Vaishnava. So who is Vaishnava? Let's get into that part also. And then we'll sort of have comparison. We'll not call it as a comparison, but we'll try to study both, like what in line of what Prabhupada is mentioning and some other references. So Vaishnava, we know who worship Vishnu, we are all Vaishnava, who are devoted to who are serving the Vishnu or Vaishnava. So now there are qualities of Vaishnava also amply defining many nectar of devotion and many scriptures is mentioned. Qualities of Vaishnava. Say for example, I'll just refer some of. There are 26 qualities prominently explained. I'll not go through each quality, but I'll just quickly run through it. He is very kind. He does not make anyone his enemy. Truthful. Does not find a fault. Mild, clean. Okay, peaceful. Surrender to Krishna. I wanted to bring that point. He specifically mentioned out of 20. He is always surrendered to Krishna. He has no material desire. He is meek, steady, controls his senses. Friendly, poetic, expert, silent. There are 26 qualities of Vaishnava, and there are many more. These are all basic, very basic qualities, but there are many more. So, the essential definition of Vaishnava is basically who is devoted, who is always surrendered to Lord Krishna, Vishnu, Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, or any of his form. So that is a prime exclusive quality of Vaishnava, I will say. So because there are good qualities in everybody, to some extent, okay. Even though somebody may not be Vaishnava, he will have some good qualities. Brahmanas are actually basically Vaishnava, but they may be at an earlier stage of Vaishnavism. That's what Prabhupada also read. Brahmana are Vaishnavas in the sense, if Brahmana doesn't worship Vishnu, then they are not Brahmanas. So that is a point Prabhupada is making, and when I was collating the various references on this topic, if Brahmanas doesn't worship Vishnu, then they are not Brahmanas in real sense, although they may have these qualities apparently externally, because the whole basic objective is lost if we are not worshipping the Vishnu. Not worshipping the Vishnu or offending Vaishnavas or not cooperating Vaishnavas or criticizing Vaishnavas. I mean, anything related to Vishnu. Vishnu means Vaishnavas. I mean, in the sense that Vishnu includes his Vaishnavas very important, as an important, paraphernalia he needs, because Vaishnavas cannot be offended. Vishnu sometimes one can, I must say one can offend, if offends wrongly. If one offends wrongly, at least Harinam or Vishnu Nam can make him, pardon. He can get pardoned by sincerely chanting again and having that sense of guilty. Of course, it should not become, purposeful, this thing. Then it's not. Then you can't be relieved of any offense if it is done purposely. Obviously, no. But I'm telling, if somebody offends Vishnu, which we do in directly, indirectly. That's what 10 offenses against Harinam. Okay, so we offend Vishnu, but at least it can be rescued by sincerely again chanting the name of Lord. But if you offend Vaishnava, even that is not possible to get rid of that Vaishnava Prada unless or we surrender to Vaishnava and he agrees to pardon us. So it's so important that Vaishnava cannot be offended at any cost. And even though we offend it wrongly, unknowingly, inadvertently, then immediately we should seek the pardon and blessings of Vaishnava. And if he is kind enough, generally Vaishnavas are kind, that's what it said in scripture, but if he agrees, then we may get out of this offense. So it's so important. My point here is it's so important position of Vaishnava, probably higher than Vishnu in terms of that way, because Lord Krishna want to see his devotees to be on the front foot or glorified, and he's always he will never sort of fall down the Vaishnava's words. He will ensure that. So that is what position of Vaishnava. Now Brahmanas, first of all, they must worship Vishnu. Because why? Because all the purpose of any sacrifices, which Brahmanas are expert in, at least externally chanting the mantras, because they have got that qualification of clearly chanting mantras and have that bodily and mental purification. They have gone through that purificatory process, which is prerequisite for chanting any mantras and doing all those ceremonies or this mantra, basically yajnas, sacrifices. The whole purpose of this sacrifices itself is what? That is to please Lord Vishnu. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. Savrudam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim vicchati. That is Bhagavad Gita says. What Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam. So the ultimate beneficiary and ultimate purpose of all yajnas or sacrifices, any yajnas under karma kanda, jnana kanda, any kanda, okay, all sacrifices, any sort of, many types of sacrifices are there, many types of sacrifices. Our whole purpose is to surrender or to worship or to offer it to Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. So Brahmanas are the experts in doing the sacrifices, facilitating that process, and they are actually capable of doing it for the benefit of people. So obviously, if they don't have that consciousness of serving the Lord Krishna, then obviously they are not real Brahmana. That's the Prabhupada makes point. So Brahmana is one says Vaishnava means what? The person who is real genuine Brahmana will definitely worship Lord Vishnu, and hence he is Vaishnava. That way we can say. And the qualities of many qualities of Vaishnava, Brahmana, they are very common. Just now we read. But probably Brahmana is at the early phase. So Brahma Janati iti Brahmana means the person who is purified enough, who is knowledgeable enough to know about Brahman. Brahman means impersonal feature of Lord. So that is a earlier feature of Lord. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan. So his knowledge, basically Brahman means a knowledge about all features of Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is he, and what is this all material world, spiritual, all sort of knowledge regarding to this is matters of Brahman. So impersonal sort of things. He's at that platform. And of course, he knows about Vishnu to that extent. He's doing that worshipping, but probably he's not to that level of Vaishnava. That is why Prabhupada mentions Vaishnavas are above Brahmanas. In the sense, because they are actually hitting the nail. They are actually achieved the purpose of the real, all that sacrifices, all that exhaustive thing. Vaishnava is doing by his day-to-day basis on every moment is surrendered to Lord. That's why in 26 point of Vaishnava is always surrendered to Lord. Always surrender means he doesn't have to do sacrifice and all that exclusively separate. He may do it for benefit of people or contextually, but his consciousness is all about consciousness, right? Krishna consciousness. So he is fully conscious of Lord every moment, and that's why he is a pure Vaishnava. He is in loving attitude exchange with Lord Krishna every moment. I'm talking about pure Vaishnava, advanced Vaishnava. And of course, the people like us, like me, are sort of on the path. Slowly we have to do that, adopt that. But here, Vaishnava means they are actually, so who can do that? So Vaishnavas also are Brahmanas by default. How? Brahmanas also are Vaishnavas in the sense, if he is a real Brahmana, he will worship Lord Vishnu, but he may not be exactly at the level of Vaishnava, but they are Vaishnavas, at least basic level, if it's a genuine Brahmana. Because they have to worship Lord Vishnu, because he is a beneficiary of all those things. Right? Similarly, because he is our Lord is our protector, he is a proprietor of everything, he is our protector. Right? He is an enjoyer of all sacrifices. So anything we do in the spiritual life or transcendental knowledge cannot be away, or it cannot be in isolation with Lord. That's the whole point is being mentioned here. Anything we do, so anything which is not relevant to Lord, directly, indirectly, is not related, it's not at all transcendental. That's so in a very broad level we can say. So in that way, even though we are doing Sattva Guna, Rajaguna, Tamaguna, we are in that process of chanting Vedic hymns, Karma Kandas, all those things, that's fine. That's all, because ultimately this path will lead to, ultimately, slowly people will achieve that. But problem is, objective has to be known, and objective is do anything, but objective is basically to achieve Lord, to attain Lord's lotus feet is the ultimate objective. Yoga ladder we have seen, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, bhakti yoga. So their ladder bhakti yoga stands. So these are all processes, but the consciousness or consciousness has to be surrendered to Lord. The attitude has to be that way. If one is rebellious to Lord or one is not accepting authority of Lord, then that he is not Brahmana in reality, factually. He may be by birth or he may be by some external appearances that way. That way Ravana also was Brahmana, by the way. He was very expert in chanting Vedas and he was also Brahmana that way, but he was not actually Brahmana. He was actually hitting the, so that is the way we can see. So Vaishnavas are basically who are constant worshipper, constantly in love, loving exchange with Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, but most importantly, they will have all the Brahmanical qualities. Without having Brahmanical qualities, we cannot become Vaishnava also. And it's obvious. Suppose somebody is violent, how he can be Vaishnava? I mean, violent is unnecessarily violence, I say. Somebody is not morally right, how he cannot become. So Vaishnava is very different, very unique position. We should understand the position of Vaishnava in a very categorical and very important, and it's very important. It is not just about following just some principles and step by step. It's not exactly like that. Basically, it's all about changing our consciousness and showing it in detail, sacrificing everything to Lord Krishna. It's not that easy because false ego is very prominent, and we are so proud about false ego. We are so attached to our me, mine. Vaishnava has rejected all that, all the sense of false pride, false self ego. He has rejected that. He or she has rejected that, and he has actually achieved the highest position in the universe among the living entities. Correct. So Vaishnava by default are Brahmanas because they will have those qualities, and even though circumstantially, because some of those references, some of the stories in Bhagavatam or throughout Veda, there may not be, some people might not be exactly in terms of external appearances like Brahminical, because they might be having some bad habits, sometimes unknowingly, out of ignorance, in a rare instances, not knowingly, unknowingly, or based on their earlier karmas or habits. They are still Vaishnavas because their consciousness is to surrender Lord Krishna. That is what exactly it is. We have to understand that it's not all about external thing. It's all about what is your consciousness. About external things. So, I mean, so to say, just to explain more, sometimes people might have bad habits or maybe from lower caste, okay, so-called lower caste, okay, Chandalas, and I mean, there are shlokas. But if they are devotees of Lord Krishna, they are Vaishnavas. But of course, they have to once, but that is why they are doing such a bad thing sometimes, and although they are Vaishnava, that is circumstantial, that's temporary. And once they come to know this is wrong, they will leave it. I mean, there are many instances, right? Valmiki, and there are one hunter. So there are many instances where the moment is this so-called bad habit or externally bad people were doing something, but once they come to know, they are adopted and they are reached to the Vaishnava position, because that the consciousness was very pure. It was only question of some getting some mercy or getting some blessings of some Vaishnava, and then it happened to them. So this is how we have to understand. Vaishnava is a much more higher position. Of course, Vaishnava knowingly, systematically, he must develop Brahminical quality. That's all whole sadhana process is that. That's what we everywhere Prabhu has mentioned. We want Brahminical culture. We want Brahmana. So basically, that is from the way of, like, in terms of knowledge, we should be well equipped. Knowledge, our habits, and ahara, vihara, everything should be perfect. Purification, so that we slowly go to Sattva Guna, and out of once you go to Sattva Guna, it's easy to understand Shastras because you are cool, you are in cool mind, and all contamination is gone. You can capture, adopt, behave the as per the Shastra, and you go to Shuddha Sattva. That is Vaishnava. Shuddha Sattva is out of these 4 gunas, because Sattva guna also is a source of bondage sometimes, because we become much more peaceful, so-called happy, very tranquil, and we may forget Lord. That's not what it is advised. So that's a rare thing, but yeah, that happens. So that is also, so of course we need to go to beyond all 3 gunas. Shuddha Sattva we should reach to, which is nothing but Krishna consciousness, and Prabhupada has given the perfect process for that. So chanting bypasses all these step by step thing. Chanting means once you start chanting, you are directly into transcendental platform for that period. But we have to do it offensively and slowly. We have to. It takes time, but it will happen. So chanting, following 4 relative principles, whatever our standard Prabhupada has set up, the Vaishnava follows, is the thing which we have to do, and that's the way we can go to Brahminical platform, and not only Brahmin, we go beyond that to Vaishnava platform. So that is the simple methods given. We should follow that. But the point here is basically one point I probably did not mention is Brahmanas by definition are the people who are at the Brahman platform and they know about Brahman, like impersonal feature and knowledge and all that. But Vaishnavas are at a platform of Bhagavan, in the sense platform is they know about Bhagavan, that is Lord Krishna. So they know all 3. So the Vaishnavas knows about Brahman. Why? Because impersonal feature is lower feature, then above is a Paramatma localized feature, and above is Bhagavan, because everything is coming from Bhagavan. So Vaishnava is aware, realize about all 3 features of Lord, and see everything in that all 3 contexts. He sees everything under Lord Krishna, Bhagavan feature, and this impersonal thing also. We Vaishnavas accept impersonality, obviously, but then we say it is not ultimate. The ultimate source is Bhagavan. That is a perfection. While Brahmanas by definition might be at the level of impersonal realization, Brahman platform, and they might be trying to learn more, but they might not be really fully appreciative of Bhagavan feature. Of course, they may appreciate or they may accept, but they may not have that realization probably, or they may be having partial of that. But Vaishnava is at a platform of realizing Bhagavan feature of the Lord. That's another important difference. Right? So there are many instances in the various scriptures, Bhagavatam. I don't know. I'm not able to recall the exact story, but like Brahman Patnis, they're more, they're much more at advanced level, although they were not exactly at the level of Brahmana in terms of, their ability to chant the Vedic hymns and all that sort of thing. But they were actually favored, and they were very close to Lord Krishna. Then and Brahmanas realized it later. And there, I don't have the detailed chronology of story, but there are many stories. The way I mentioned, the particular personality was not having very good habit, but he was actually Vaishnava, and then he got that full blessings from some Vaishnava, and he achieved that full advanced level of Vaishnavism. So it's not all about only external this thing, but it's all about internal thing. So when Prabhupada concludes this purport very categorically, so in this context, when Lord Krishna is addressing 4 Kumaras as Brahmanas, he's actually addressing them more so as a Vaishnavas, because he's seeing them as a Vaishnava Brahmanas. They are advanced Brahmanas and at the level of Vaishnava. So basically, he's saying that it's actually Vaishnava. Okay, it's not. He was not treating them as a typical, just at some particular level Brahmana. He's treating them as a very advanced Brahmanas or Vaishnava level, and that is the way. I mean, Lord Krishna is more interested in Vaishnava, because that's how many stories also are there. Many kathas are there where Lord Krishna want our devotion, and not that external, stamping of we are at level. Of course, it's important. Varnas is important. Brahmana, Kshatriya, they are, because we have to go step by step. We cannot, at least we cannot assume for ourselves that, oh, okay, I will bypass it and I will become Vaishnava suddenly. No, we have to go through step by step purification process, go through mode of goodness, achieve the mode of goodness, and then of course achieve that Brahmanical quality slowly, and then you get to Vaishnavism. Of course, Prabhupada has given the process of doing it in a very shortest, very blissful way, that is chanting and reading the scriptures, all the Bhakti Marga he has given, and we should follow that. So that is the whole summary of all these four shlokas, where Lord Krishna is agreeing that the curse given by Brahmanas are right because they are devoted to me. He is accepting that. He is respecting them beyond his own, because he is saying, yes, you are done, what you are done is right, and he's treating them at the very highest level because they are Vaishnavas. And then of course further stories are there that will come as next speakers will speak, but this is the sum and substance of all these 2-3 shlokas, and that's what I wanted to share. So I suggest Prabhuji, Vidura Prabhuji, to comment further, add or correct anything, and then we can get into question answer session. Hare Krishna.
Nothing specific, Prabhu. So the point you made that a Vaishnava includes Brahmana, but a Brahmana necessarily need not be a Vaishnava. That's the point. So that means it is progressive. A Vaishnava already has everything related to a Brahmana. So that includes, yes. Just like we say, Vishnu is part of Krishna, but Krishna is not part of Vishnu. Both are same.
Right.
But still, you can't call Vishnu Krishna, but you can call, say that, Vishnu is Krishna, but you can say that Krishna is Vishnu.
Yeah.
Like that. So the Brahmana, I think there is one more definition of Brahmana. Like, it's not like, first you have the, whatever you are qualified to, do the Brahma Jigyasa. That means you start the spiritual life, you are becoming a Brahmana. But then a higher level of Brahmana is a Vipra. That means a higher. So that means that person is Brahmana, but he is more qualified by able to chant all the Vedas and all that. So that way he is a advanced Brahmana. But still, a Vaishnava is above this Vipra also. Necessarily he not be able to even chant the Vedas. There, actually, if you see the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami, all the sages will call him the highest of Brahmanas, and then they will say, even though you may not be able to chant all the Vedic mantras. So they actually say this clearly. That means a Vaishnava, maybe that he may not know all the Vedas by heart or something like that. Some Vipras have, like, if you say, if we have this thing, Trivedi, Chaturvedi, all these titles are there. It's all for namesake, but nobody has any Veda concept at all. But that was given those days. If you are a Trivedi, you know all the 3 Vedas. That means by heart, like that. Chaturvedi, Dvivedi. In North India, we have these names. Ekavedi, like that.
Dvivedi, Trivedi, Chaturvedi.
They have that in North India. Family name itself will be like that. That means they are supposed to know 2 Vedas or 3 Vedas or 4 Vedas. But then, for example, Sutta Goswami may not be able to chant all the Vedas like that, but he is considered even above them. So it's like the same thing. If you know, in Bhagavad Gita it comes, right? If you know all the purposes served by a well is automatically served by the ocean. The same thing. And you need not, again, if you are a Vaishnava, you don't have to go down to starting memorizing the thing, because that you have already done in your previous life. You mentioned that very nicely, that you cannot become a Vaishnava without being a Brahmana. That means you have done it in the past life already. You have cleared that level to become a Vaishnava. So that is the higher understanding. And that story that you mentioned, that Krishna shows mercy to the Brahmana's wives. That is very important. These are all examples like this. The example I just now quoted. Where this, coming to this example, what you mentioned, the Brahmana's wife were not very learned. But the Brahmanas were very well qualified. They were performing a wonderful yajna, and but Krishna wanted to prove to them that these ladies who are basically Vaishnavis are much bigger than the Brahmanas. So what he does is he tells his friends, you go, those Brahmanas are performing an yajna, you just go and ask for prasadam, ask them to give food for Krishna. And he also cautioned them, don't expect very nice reception, you will have trouble there. So they go and then they go and ask, Krishna is very hungry, can you all please give some food items like that. Brahmanas chase them away, hey, what are you here? We are doing an important yajna, you boys are coming and disturbing us, you come back later, after all the yajna is all done, then we will give you prasadam, you please go. They chase them away. But when so Krishna, they all come back very dejected. Oh Krishna, we were chased away by these Brahmanas. They didn't even consider us give any consideration for our request. That we told you are asking, but still they chased us away like that. He says, okay, that was anyway expected. Don't worry. Now you go to the Brahmana's wife and ask them, what do they do? Let's see. So they go and ask, and then this Brahmana's wife immediately, they are the one who are preparing, right? All these big items. They immediately pack everything and say, oh, if Krishna is hungry, just take this and give it to him. And so it all comes to, and then Krishna has a nice feast with his friends. And then in fact, they say, okay, no, we also want to come along with you. They abandon their husband, they leave all that yajna halfway, whatever. Generally, a woman is supposed to be with the husband when these yajnas are performed. Otherwise, there is no value to the grahastha performing yajna. So this fellow, they leave, abandon their husband and go to Krishna, and they are like with Krishna. And Krishna forces them, no, you go back. You have to serve your husband, your mother-in-law, father-in-law, everything like that. But they say, no, why we will go? You are our shelter. We are completely surrendered to you, and we have come here. You have to now take care of them. So Krishna very difficultly convinces them and then sends them back. So then these Brahmanas, then they realize actually the purpose of doing all this Vedaischa Sarver Ahamyeva Vedyaha. So the idea of all this thing is to actually please Krishna, but our just being a Vipra, being only a learned person is of no use. So they realize that, and then they feel their wives are much more higher. So that Vaishnava and Brahmana, that definition is of course there. Hare Krishna.
Hare, thanks for yes. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Any questions, comments for the?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Dandvat Pranam. Class was really wonderful. I want to ask one thing related to the modes of three gunas. Once when we start practicing Krishna consciousness, slowly we will cross over these three gunas and we will come to the platform of Sattva Guna. After that, we have to go to Suddha Sattva Guna. So, yeah. Suddha Sattva Guna, is there any example? Because in Suddha Sattva Guna, body will not remain. Our material body, when once the devotee crosses over the three mode of gunas, and when he enters the Suddha Sattva Guna, the body, this material body will not remain in that at that platform. So is there any example, the devotees, since we are all practicing Krishna consciousness and we are purifying our anarthas, we are coming out of our anarthas, whatever the anarthas we are having within us. And we are, so can you give any sort of this example of this entering Suddha Sattva Guna?
Okay, Prabhu. I will put some my thoughts there. Maybe Prabhuji can correct further. So, Prabhuji, there are many examples. Prabhupada himself is an example, and there are many, all our acharyas, and even to date also all our Maharaj, our Shuddha Sattva Guna. Why? Because they have attained. And secondly, I am not sure, body will remain, Prabhuji. Body living has nothing to do with gunas basically. Shuddha Sattva Guna means we are not attached to body. The consciousness is purely into Krishna consciousness. Body will remain because that is, it's not all about body is being there or not. It's all about how you are attached to body, and their body also gets purified. So everything gets purified in that Sattva Guna. Acharya, so Prabhupada's body, because it was transcendental part. That's what we should see. That is the way we should see it. Maybe Prabhuji can add a little bit technical part of it. clear.
Yeah, so basically when we say Shuddha Sattva, that means you are acting only for Krishna. So like when you are in you are in the mode of goodness, you are still somewhere connected to the bodily platform, but Shuddha Sattva is completely not body platform in Krishna, Krishna or what do you call, in Krishna consciousness. That means pure devotees. We can say we are also Krishna conscious, but our Krishna consciousness is maybe progressive, right? Progressive, but pure devotees, they have no iota of sense gratification. They are only there for gratifying the senses of the Supreme Personality of God, and any action done in that is actually in Shuddha Sattva. It is not in the body platform. So that way we understand, in that sense, everybody in spiritual world, that means they don't have a material body, they are in Shuddha Sattva. But even here, in this material world where we are forced to have a body, but if you are acting in completely for Krishna's satisfaction, then that is in Shuddha Sattva platform. It is not in what you call goodness platform. And we also sometimes do that, like very very small time of our life, maybe 1 hour or whatever, like sometimes you may be doing some service to the Lord, but there, if you are not having that iota of me in you, but I am doing for Krishna, that is in Shuddha Sattva. You still have a body, but sometimes it's very difficult, right? If I am giving a class, I feel, wow, what a class I have given, right? That's not Shuddha Sattva. That means it is still my gratification that I am talking Krishna consciousness, but I am still thinking I am great. Then that is not Shuddha Sattva. But if you are simply with pure love for Krishna and Guru, if you are just doing it and humbly without even getting that idea of no, my class was great, then you are actually in Shuddha Sattva platform. That's a very subtle thing, but very difficult to remain there also. But pure devotees are like that. And that platform is Shuddha Sattva. You can do it even in material world like that. Hare.
Yes. Hare Krishna. Thanks, Prabhuji, for clear cut. Prabhuji, does that answer your question, Prabhu? Or any further doubts?
Yeah, Prabhuji. No, one more thing, as you said, Prabhupada, you have given the example of Prabhupada in a Shuddha Sattva Guna. They, being a preacher, they come to the as a Madhyam Adhikari to preach people like us. They accept that Madhyam Adhikari platform to preach us. In the Shuddha Sattva Guna, anyway, it's clear, Prabhuji. Vidur Madhava has cleared so many things.
Okay.
Yeah, so this point, Prabhu, I don't know, I may take 1 or 2 minutes, because this is very, very important what you brought up. See, Prabhupada, like there is this example, I will give the specific example. Right, he comes to the Madhya Adhikari level, means it look like they are not in the Shuddha Sattva state, but actually internally they are. There is this example. Once what happened, Prabhupada has this habit, right? Wherever he goes to whichever country, he will change the clock in line with that country's time. So for example, they have taken a very late night flight the previous day. In the previous country, it is late night. And then when they reach to the next place, it is almost 4 o'clock morning, early morning. So Prabhupada set the time to like maybe 3 o'clock or whatever. He sets it to 3 o'clock. And then his routine 4 o'clock Mangalarti or whatever, he gets up. Now these devotees, it's very difficult for them, right? That I have, so they were sleeping a little bit. So Prabhupada got up and then nobody was ready to, continue with the devotional activities. And Prabhupada showed a little bit of anger, if I may say so, that, he said, what are you people? What devotees you are? You are not, you are just sleeping like this and all that, he will say. So one devotee became very sad that, I have become the subject of Prabhupada's anger. Prabhupada is unhappy with me like that and all. Then he, he was feeling like that. So Prabhupada will, after he will go for his morning walk, and then when he comes back, this devotee will say, how I can please Prabhupada? And finally, somehow he will think, then he will get one nice rose flower or something. And when Prabhupada comes back from the morning walk, he will nicely go and give that flower to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada will take that and he will be beaming, like, full of love, like that, very happily he will accept it. Then he will go to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, sorry, I have actually, offended you, like, I have made you angry. It is my mistake, like that. Prabhupada said, me? Angry with you? I am never angry with any of you. So that time it says he externally showed that he is angry, but he is never angry with him. That came out of Prabhupada's mood. I will never be angry with you. I have to just exhibit it at times to correct you, but I am not ever angry with you. That means they are in Shuddha Sattva, but externally they will show like I have come to a Madhyama level. So that's a very good point that you brought up, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so if there are no questions, should we call off the session? Okay, Hare Krishna. Thanks all.
Thank you, Hitesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Let's all chant one time for Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Hitesh Madhava Prabhu, for the wonderful class. Hare Krishna, Prabhu Smathaji's.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Thank you.